my second time being in Columbus, and I'd like to thank just the people who made it possible for me to be here. Going back to Sister Renee and to Brother David, and to the group that brought me the first time through. I mean, we really had a great time. It was a couple of years, I think 2007. Is anybody that I left, Sister Renee, Brother David? I just want to make sure I cover everybody in terms of... Brother Ed, yes, Brother Ed, I do. Okay, please call out the names. Yes, Sister Linda, yes, yes. Linda is your brother, right? Yes, okay. You see, I like to leave out names because that's... But, I'm sorry, say again. Okay. Yes. And, you know, I always appreciate these trips and these visits to, you know, to be with the family and to talk and to have this type, because when I spoke to my brother and decided that we were going to do this, the second visit again was orchestrated by groups of people, but just to my young brother that I appreciate, who has been really my brother Morgan with the radio program. And then the discussions, and then inviting me to come here. I spent time in Cleveland yesterday, and Brother Hampton invited me. I spent some time in Cleveland doing some work with their Board of Education. They had a program called Dance Africa Dance. There was a brother named Keel, and Brother Keel had called me. He had been exposed to my work through another brother by the name of Musawir. And this was one of the brothers that was the groundswell of the consciousness community in Cleveland. And Akil called me and we worked. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about today is wrapped up in these concepts. Because for us as a community, you know, we have to come from the perspective. I have spent 31 years in the New York City Board of Education in the Bronx, South Central Bronx. I've graduated. Some people call it retirement. I call it graduation. And I spent this time in the Board of Education, and I have come to a conclusion. And it is from that point, it is from that conclusion, that I have now built all the things I have done in my life to this point. The conclusion I've come to is that the Board of Education that I've experienced, and I dare not speak about Columbus, because I don't have a right to speak about other people's cities, so I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to tell you New York, because I have a right to tell you about New York. They're not failing. They're succeeding because their purpose is to miseducate our children. And I mean that. From having worked on the state level, on the city level, as an educator, as an assistant principal, as a director of programs, observing what is happening. I'll give you just a slight example. We had a program called SIMSCA and SIMSMA, Comprehensive Instructional Management System. CA was for Communication Arts. SIMS, same thing, Comprehensive Instructional Management System for Math. Probably one of the finest communication arts and math programs I have ever seen. As it related to staff development, the teachers, and developing in the teachers and understanding that they mixed, they blended together in one format, booklet, how to teach, let's just say fractions, finding the common denominator. Fantastic way of teaching it. And then right with that are all the little things that you give the children as you're going through the process. Step by step, comprehensively. The success level, we're talking really about the 80s. Within 8 months, that program was scrapped. And they brought another program which was probably one of the greatest failures I've ever seen. I have been involved in programs where the districts, the boards of education have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. See, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. We think sometimes, as individuals, we think of a couple hundred, couple thousand. But when you're dealing with thousands of children, and I came from the second largest district in the city, District 9. The district just north of me was the largest district. We're talking about thousands of children. African community speaks English, Spanish, French. This program whole language and other programs that they said would work. Literally, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, spent on this program. And I went into closets after that program was scrapped and found books that related to that program that had not even been opened. It's all about money. In the educational system, we are the service. See, there's no place for us in the American society. So we are their service system. They make money on us in education and in the prison industrial complex. This is where they make money on us. We have no place. We are like puppets to be used. We have to educate our children. Simple like that. I work with homeschooling parents who are overwhelmed with the concept of educating their children. Because they say, well, what do I do with them? Okay, I don't want them in the public school system, but what do I do with them? State is telling me I've got to meet this requirement and that requirement, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And I say, well, there's a game that we can play here. And I say, I can take you through the process of what they need to experience during their day. But when they ask you for all that curriculum and all that, just download what they got. Tell them that's what you're going to use. They ain't coming to your house to check it out. Play the game. Just say, oh, I'm going to use the state guidelines. I'm going to use the core curriculum. Yeah, come on, yeah. Now let's go down here and hang out with them through DC. Play the game. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about a couple of things. I'm concerned that we are not aware of how simple this really is. When I say simple, I don't mean easy. I mean that there is a straightforward way to educate our children in a way. And the reason why I come to you this way is because I've done it. And I've seen it, and I know how we can approach this. And please understand, if you want to look at a book, there's a book that's called Self-Taught. It's a fantastic book written by Dr. Williams. It's a sister, Andrea Williams, I believe. She's out of North Carolina, I believe. But Self-Taught is a book that talks about how black folk educated themselves on the plantation and moving in to the 1900s. Our records show that as of 1865 to 1870, 5 years within the so-called Emancipation Proclamation, the African community, 14% of the African community that had just been newly, so to speak, emancipated, they were literate. By 1900, 41% of the African community was literate. In other words, they could read, write, calculate on a 6th grade level. That's literate, 6th grade, 12, 13 years. What's wrong with that? That number in 1900 is larger than the number today. Now, with all those resources we have today, all that money, all these schools, all these teachers, all this stuff they say we have, why are we worse off today than we were in 1900? You see, nobody understood. It wasn't integration we wanted. It was desegregation. Right. See, everybody talking about integration. See, you know, there are some, okay, I'm not going to say, but the great majority of us do not really want to associate with peoples of European descent.
That's true. Hello.
But we want to know, we want to know that we can go any way we want to as a human being on this planet. That's what we want. And I think that those misinterpretations, because the educational system is more segregated today than it was prior to Dr. Martin Luther King. That's a statistical fact. And my concern is that in working in my special ed classes and in working in the prison industrial complex, some of the finest minds I've ever met have been in special ed classes and have been in prison. Some of the most powerful. But I also have to tell you this. If I were a person of European descent, I would do the same thing to us.
Absolutely.
My mama said, you're never going to defeat your enemy until you think like your enemy. There's only one difference between myself and peoples of European descent. If I were of European descent, knowing what I pretty much know right now, in 1865, I would have lined all black folk up and just shot them, because I would have seen this day coming. This is a very dangerous time. See, the Republican Party is suffering from something called the Willie Lynch syndrome. See, we thought the Willie Lynch was us. No, the Willie Lynch is them. Because they don't even know where to go now. They're fighting amongst themselves. They're having very serious problems. And they're trying to hide all this. But my point is, even if they were no longer on the planet as of tomorrow, are we prepared to develop an educational system? Are we prepared to develop a political system? Are we prepared to set up an economic system? But the fact of the matter is that we have the potential to do it and do it well. What we need is what Kwame Ture, also known as Stokely Carmichael, said: we need organization. We need to organize ourselves. Looking at the work of Minister Louis Farrakhan and looking at the work of Neely Fuller. You've heard of Neely Fuller and his compensatory work. He identifies 9 areas where white supremacy comes at us. The umbrella 9 areas that then can scatter out and touch all areas. And I'm saying, coupling that concept with Minister Farrakhan's idea of developing ministries, we need to start thinking of it now. Here in Columbus, you can start it right here in this room. That's what I mean when I say it's simple. Because when I was on my way here, I heard that a lot of y'all were here. And they threatened not to let me in because they said no one was getting in after 1 o'clock. But I told Brother Morgan, man, I'll deal with you outside. We can talk outside. I've talked in the park many days. I've talked on 125th Street. You check my Facebook, you'll see me on 125th Street. Because, you know, I mean, I'll go on the street and talk. You know, it's called stepping up on the ladder, if you remember those days. See, I have no problem with that, you see, because I want to go where the people are, the people in the street. And what I want to do is explain to us, at least from my perception, what I see. Ways that we can, there are 9 areas. 9 areas, and I use the acronym REL, R-E-L, S-E-L, WEP, W-E-P. If we wanted to develop, we need to take the very best of our minds that are willing to do this and to go and be willing to go into an area that we do very well. My recommendation is do not go into an area where you are not passionately involved, because you will be overwhelmed when they give you assignments and then you won't want to do it and then it will fall apart. Many of us get so excited about being involved. We say, I'll do it, but after a while we don't want to do that. But there are other things that we can do. Rel, Sel, Wef. R is religion. Religion. We need to bring our peoples of the cloth, people of the religious organizations, into a body. And have them begin to develop in the interest of African people, not your religion.
Absolutely.
In the interest of African people who you wish to service. That is where you bring your piece together. Probably one of the most powerful organizations that we have is our church, and our mosques, and our synagogues for the Hebrew Israelites. The first E I do alphabetically is economics. Dr. Claude Anderson, and all the other brilliant economic people. Bring them together. I'm going to tell you what you can do right now as it relates to economics. If you were to put 10% aside and spend it with the vendors, right now this is what you can do. Take 10% of your money. Because if we can give 10% to the church, we can give 10% to the vendors. Whether it be the ones with the DVDs, whether it's the brothers and sisters with the jewelry, whether it's the clothing, the books, 10%. At least 10%. Start to spread it with the vendors in the street. That's something we can do right now. That's not imaginary. That can be done. In the larger scope, get economics, get people involved in economics to come and to assist us as what we're doing right here. Take these 9 different areas and have people come in and assist you in developing. See, have your lecture series geared towards a particular project and issue that you need to address immediately. Consciousness and information is fantastic, it's great. But without direction, it's just information. Say that again, sis? Yes, yes, absolutely. The path. The path. There's a direction. And Tehuti, the husband to Ma'at, is knowledge and wisdom. Together, they're married, but philosophically, what our ancestors were telling us is that the husband and wife team, the complements is the righteous path and knowledge. Knowledge keeps you on the path keeps you towards gaining knowledge. And one was feminine, one was a male. First L is labor, jobs. What is it that we can do? Have folk coming from Black Wall Street, aware of Black Wall Street and all the other fantastic communities that had developed their thing. Begin to develop a way that here in the Columbus community, you can begin to economically turn inward in order to pass that dollar around your community. And it's been done in black books and lists of tailors and cleaners and stores and that are black owned. Groundswell. Make sure you go to that cleaner with your clothes. Make sure you go to that shoemaker with the clothes. Make sure you go to that person. And make sure that that person is obligated now to go to another person of African descent who has a store. And so you pass that dollar in the community. This is what Dr. Claude Anderson teaches us, far better than I, because he is the economist. But let's go through a process, and in doing that, invite all the vendors in to experience him. Because I'll tell you something else that I've learned. As I've experienced the way we do business with each other, sometimes a brother or a sister try to make up for 250 years of enslavement by selling you one piece of art. Okay? 250,000, come on, what are you talking about? 250,000 for that piece of art. Sometimes we outprice ourselves. And I do realize that we have to pay more for things than other people. I do understand that. But let's make a living, not a killing. Let's make it so that we are just above what we're spending in order to get it. So that if an article that you're having is going to cost you, because you can't get it wholesale like other people do, whether it be a book, if a book is going to cost you that's going straight up is going to be $25, ask for $30. $5 profit. You don't want after $75. Well, I can buy 2 books. Well, come on. Because you're going to drive people away from you. Because now they're going to say, well, I can get that in so-and-so bookstore, and then it's for only $5. Or I have a special card where they give me 10% discount. I can get that 25% plus minus 10% discount. Why am I going to spend $75? So we sometimes draw ourselves into a hole by the way in which we do business with each other. So psychologically, we have to learn how to manage our affairs in a way that, yeah, brother, I realize that, and I'm going to go out of my way to come to you, and I know I'm going to pay a little bit more, but it's worth it because at least my money is going to black hands. And if I know that you're going to put that money that I'm giving you into another set of black hands, it's worth it for me to spend a little bit extra to be with you, in the hope that when you do get a chance to bring that price down, through ma'at, through righteousness, you will. And not that you're going to start to move into another neighborhood because now you've got extra money.
That's right.
So we have to have that understanding on both sides of the economic piece. And once we start doing that and the community has trust in us, look, we taught the world business. We do very good business. You know, when I've gone to Egypt, you know, I go to Egypt and, you know, they have 3 pyramids that they sell. One big, middle size, small size. I say, okay, brother, how much pyramids? $10. $10, come on. $10. 3 pyramids, $10. No, man, $5. Oh, no, I can't do $5. And I say, yeah, $5. I say, look, you give me $5, I'm going to take these pyramids, I'm going to have 3 children. I'm going to give my oldest child the big pyramid, the middle child the next and my youngest small friend. He said, you gonna give children Ephraim? I said, I'm gonna give my family prayer. What their names? I said, Sasha, Kandike, and Heru. Oh, I said, do you have children? He said, yeah, I have children. I said, well, I'd love to give you this money so you can take care of your children. I said, what's your children? Muhammad, Ibrahim, Obed. Fantastic, what a family, how old are they? After a little while, he said, okay, $7. I said, oh, $7, man, come on, $6, I do it. $2 each. He said, no, man, he said, if I do that, and so I say, 7, okay, 7. What I'm telling you is that they would have been unhappy had I just paid the $10. Trade was in us getting to know each other. Supply and demand. I have something that you want, you have something that I want. However, let's get to know each other in the process of this relationship. They would have been disappointed had I just paid. See, we're used to just somebody saying $9.99, we pay $9.99 plus the tax. Because they're not interested. Trade here is not that humanistic relationship between human to human. But the African people, it's very important to get to know you. Because it's not the money that's important. It's not the item that's important. It's getting to know each other that's important. Using the item, using the money as the vehicle by which we can get to know each other. This is what we did to do. We did very good business. Very good business. There might be some of us that need to start to barter for a while. There might be somebody who's an electrical engineer and a plumber, and there might be somebody who is a tailor. And the guy comes in and he wants something to happen to his suit. His suit is raggedy. He said he wants something. And the sister, who is the electrical engineer, she said, well, you know something? We can trade off. So I'll fix your lights, you fix my suit. It might happen like that. And that way no money is crossed hands. Or we would have paid money, but now because we're trading and bartering, that might be what we do sometimes also. I know I do that with a lot of vendors. A lot of vendors may have wares and they say, here, you know, this is a sister last night gave me a really nice ankh. And I said, wow, that's great, okay. And I gave her my DVDs, okay. I did not give her money for the ankh, and she gave me no money for DVDs. However, I now have a wonderful ankh, and she has 3 DVDs. Sometimes we can do things like that also, but we need to talk to each other. Okay, now of course money has its place. Because I can't give that ankh to pay my rent this month. Okay, and I realize that. However, money does have its place, but it's not the most important thing to African people. But see, we've been bit by the vampire of capitalism. And sometimes we're caught up in this world. I know we're caught up in this world. I'm caught up in this world. I gotta pay rent. I gotta put food on the table. I gotta take care of family. I gotta pay college. That ankh ain't gonna do that. But the trade that happened between that sister and I was something that now I have something a little bit extra to make me happy. She has something a little bit extra to keep her happy. That's bartering. But there is another time when money is necessary. We have to be able to be balanced to know. And not take offense when the brothers say, you know, I'd love to do that, sister, but I can't. I need the cash. We also need to be able to rise above that conversation and not to take it personal. Because maybe next time it can be done. But if you're running low on cash and you need to pay a bill, bartering may not be the answer, but we have to be large enough to be able to go beyond that concept and not think it's going to happen every time. And again, so it goes back to how we feel towards each other and how we develop each other and know better. Because some of us would say, you know something? Not only am I going to give you my wares, but I'm going to pay you too. And sometimes when we are in a position, how many times down south or even here in Columbus, wherever, how many times have we watched our grandmothers feed the community? And never expect anything back. Our mothers feed the community. Never expect anything back. It wasn't about that. That was Miss Lou's children. We're going to feed them today because I know that Miss Lou's having a little trouble down there. So we're going to help them out. This is the way we are as a people. But we've been bit by the vampire. And so we're suffering from this relationship deficit amongst us as a people. Sell. Religion, economics, labor. Now we're into the SEL. Sex. Not sex as it relates to what we may think, sex as it relates to gender. Gender, what are our roles now? Look at the male and the female. What are our roles? How are we respecting our sisters? Really? Really? Let's do that one more time. Really? Because brothers, we talk a lot, right? But when we get behind closed doors, it's a whole nother world. One of the examples I used, the person that founded and built the Nation of Islam was Sister Clara Muhammad.
I say.
Not many people know that because Sister, in her genius, as most sisters are genius, understand we're living in a male-dominated world that could never have accepted Sister Clara as the supreme commander of the Nation of Islam. So she gave the people a president. From 1935 to 1946, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was either running away from trouble or was in prison for sedition because of going against World War II, it was Sister Clara Muhammad that ran the Nation of Islam. When this brother was in prison for going against America being in World War II, they put him in prison. At that time, they did not allow the Quran to go into prisons. Sister Clara Muhammad wrote page by page the Quran, smuggled it into prison for the Honorable Elijah.
Wow.
While she was running the Nation of Islam, she was homeschooling her. She is the mother of homeschooling of America.
Absolutely.
And when she learned how to play the game, she started the University of Islam, which was the homeschooling program she had in place for her children. She told the police when they came to her door, "I'll be dead as this doorknob before I'll let you take my children from me." This is Sister Clara Muhammad. Gender. Come on, what have our sisters done for us, brothers? They're all grounded, man.
Everything.
They're the very foundations. The Pharaoh, from the African perspective, was called the Nesut Biti. Nesutbity. Nesut Biti. The woman who sat with him was called the Hemet Nesut Waret. Now, what does Hemet Nesut Waret mean? It means the deep well of water that I will go to when I'm parched by the desert.
I know that's right.
Now listen to that. Listen what I... think about being in the desert. Okay, your mouth don't feel like cotton. Your tongue is on fire. Okay? What you thinking about? Water. But that sister that was next to you was not just your water. She was a deep well. Come on. How did we feel about our women to describe them like that? And brothers, I'm a man. I'm happy to be a man. I'm proud to be a man. In fact, I know that what men did back then when men were men helped the sister do the great things that she did. So I have no problem. I'm not speaking superiority, inferiority. I'm not speaking better or worse, good or bad. I'm saying that if each of us sits together and does our function through ma'at, we can build pyramids. We can create concepts of God and jurisprudence. We can identify who we are as a people. But for as long as they watch us interact with each other the way we are interacting with each other, they know we will never rise. Because the very cell of a nation is the family. A nation cannot be any better than the weakest family in it. And we have to go back to an understanding of a respect, of a trust, of a dignity, of an honor. First with ourselves. Because a lot of what we may feel as brothers, I've often said that, we brothers, we need to go into a room. All the brothers just need to say, "Sister, we'll check you later." We all need to go into a room and have one big cry. I'm talking about that ugly in the face, boo-hoo cry, to let out all the shit we've been through. And when I say shit, I mean shit. The defecation, everything that everyone has thrown on us. We need to go out and be alone and let it out so that we can do what we have to do as men in this society. Because see, the European man don't know who he is. He questions, as I question, the very value and measure of his manhood. And that's why he treats us the way he does. He puts us in prison so when he walks the street, he don't see us, so he doesn't realize what lack of manhood he has. So putting us away allows them never ever to see us. Because our presence intimidates them. And our young brothers, them handsome, strong young brothers, when they walk in the street, they got that little swag. That scares them. That scares the mightiest of them. Because they can see in that young brother that, hey man, that's power, brother. They scared of that. Our greatest enemy is not white people. Our greatest enemy is ignorance. It just happens to be Europeans have to be one of the most ignorant group of people. Ignorance gives birth to twins. Fear, false evidence appearing real. And denial, that's the other twin. Fear and denial. Fear and denial give birth to white supremacy. Know your enemy. Your enemy ain't the white man. It is not the European. It is the ignorance, the arrogant ignorance that they possess. That's the enemy. So when you go after them, don't go after their person. Go after their ignorance, their mind. We know, elders, as we look and we observe them over the years, what a lack of manhood. They have such a lack of manhood, they need assault weapons to be equal to the black man. Yeah. That's why they want all them weapons. You all know Frances Cress Welsing?
Yes, sir.
You all know what she said about the guns, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I don't need to go there. She does it quite nice. Nicest Papers, YouTuber, she'll tell you about what that gun represents to them and why it's shaped the way it's shaped. And then bullets. Because that's their manhood. Think about what I'm saying. So that we can move forward in a very clear psychological manner, because when you know your enemy, you can fight. But when you're confused about who the enemy is, then you have a problem, because the male person is not the enemy. It's the ignorance that's the enemy. That's what you have to fight. The only way to fight that ignorance is to become knowledgeable of self and to pick your battles. Because not every battle they want to get you in is not a battle worth fighting. It's just to waste your time. Draw on your melanic energy so that when the real battle comes, you will have already expended your energy. The second E, education. Sex, gender is the S. The second E is education. We need a ministry of education. This is where I volunteer. This, I believe, is my contribution. The others, I may know something of, but my passion is education. That's where I feel good. That's where I'm confident in what I do. And that's why I say you got to pick the area where you're good at, because I know I can handle that. And I know that if called upon, I can do things without worrying about it, because it's part of my life. The same way someone who's into economics can do the economic piece. But if you ask them to do something in education, draw up a curriculum, teach a class, oh no, I don't think I want to do that. Then they get overwhelmed. If you ask me to do something in an area that I'm not comfortable in, that's going to challenge me, I may be a little overwhelmed. I'll do it, but it's not something that I'm passionate about. Education, that's it. That's my life. Education. And then the second L of SEL is law. We need to bring Attorney Alton Maddox, one of the greatest legal minds the world has ever known. That's why they had to strip him of his license. They had to take his license because they said, we can't let him back in court. And Reverend Al Sharpton was charged with 64 counts. Attorney Alton Maddox got him off every one of those counts. Maddox is a bad brother. Judges and lawyers used to go into the court just to watch him as he defended his folk. Attorney Alton Maddox, that's a bad brother. A-L-T-O-N, M-A-D-D-O-X, Alton Maddox. They had to take his license because, I mean, they saw things, no, we can't have him. He was more dangerous than Johnny Cochran. Alton Maddox. If you have not heard him, you need to bring him here. You need to Google him because he has different types of YouTube. He also writes essays, some of the finest pieces of legal documents that you ever want to see. He can break things down. He's the one behind the Freedom Party. Law. We need to understand law. And you see, the thing about law, which is very interesting, and it's something that we all have to do. I used to teach, well, I still do, but not in Rikers. But I teach law. I'm not getting nasty, I'm looking for something. I don't leave home with them. I have 2 constitutions. I keep it in this plastic. I sweat a lot sometimes when I'm in the street. Constitution. You need to get one and carry it. You need to study it when you're on the train or on the bus or at a red light. This is the U.S. Constitution for African Americans. You need to carry this. When I was in the Board of Education, I used to teach a class. I was brought into, because I was social sciences, and they brought me into this program called Constitution Works. And I used to teach junior high school students the Constitution, and they trained me to do this. And then I was going into Rikers Island, and I was teaching Constitution to the brothers. And also to the sisters in the Rose Single Wing, but normally the high school is where I used to work. They have a Board of Education in Rikers Island, by the way. And the students there get better grades than the ones on the outside. I tell you something, too. And, you know, for those of you who have gone behind bars, visiting or whatever, you know that you come in, at least I do in Rikers, you give them your ID card. You know, you make sure you ain't got nothing that you can bring in. You give me your ID card, they give you a card. And then you walk in, then you go to the second door. You give the card that they gave to you to somebody, and then they give you the piece that can let you in, then you go in. Well, I was teaching Constitution to the students, and I noticed that maybe about 8 months into my going into working with the young people, they began to tell me, they told me one day that I went, they said, this you can't bring in. The Constitution. It's the same book that I taught 6th grade students. They say, you can't bring this in with you anymore. I said, well, why not? They said, because you can't bring this in anymore. Later on, of course, the brothers told me that, you know, the young brothers in studying the Constitution and used to quote the Constitution. And I look out and I see these young enslaved human beings, and I hear this person singing to them, and I'm listening to the words of I Believe I Can Fly from a perspective of being an African on a plantation. I have a homework assignment for you. I'm a teacher, I gotta give you homework. I want you to listen to I Believe I Can Fly. I want you to imagine that you are on a plantation. And I want you to imagine you listening to the words of that song as if you're on a plantation listening to those words. When you listen to those words, I'm just going to tell the story. What I got out of that is, as I looked at where I was and I understood where I was and what was happening, and as I was beginning to understand, I heard the words from a totally different perspective. And the words came to me as someone who believes in themselves, believes they can fly. If only the door could open, if only the opportunity could come, they would fly. But first they had to believe in themselves. First they had to rely on themselves. Sometimes they felt like it was just over for them, but they had faith in themselves and they were able to see the next day. And when I heard the words of that song, I came to realize that who they were talking to on the plantation, of if only the opportunity was there, if only the chance they had could come to be, that they could fly. I began to realize that the people that they were talking about was us. Our ancestors put everything they had on the line. They went through, I could not even begin to imagine what it was like to go day by day like that. And here, they were willing to do that, knowing that somebody would be free. They just kept it going. I am embarrassed and ashamed to think I have it rough. I feel blessed that they were willing to do that for us. And I am not going to let them down. I am going to continue because I believe I can fly. And my image, I see a school with African folk coming in and out, lively dialogue, the young and the elder speaking with each other. I see elders walking, male and female, with groups of young people all around them, just walking and talking, asking questions. The elder responding. I believe I can fly. That's my image. I know that's a rough. We have work to do. And I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. I plan on living at least to 230. I'm Methuselah. I don't plan on going, so I'm telling you this because I don't want you to think that I see anything happening or that I think anything will happen real quick. I see myself living a life, but what I'm looking for may not happen in my lifetime. But the one thing I know is that if I don't give up, somebody's going to have that school. And that's what I'm pursuing to you. What our ancestors did back then, they did knowing that if they just put one foot in front of the other every day, they would do that. I do what I do. I put one foot in front of the other, knowing that I might not see it. What I see out there may not be exactly what I envision, but I know if I just keep on going, I believe I can fly. We have no right to give up now. And as it relates to Christianity, I bless Christianity. I am thankful to Christianity. Because when we were on that plantation, what allowed us to get from one day to another was a belief system that said there was a man that lived at one point in history that was spit upon. He was nothing but love personified. He gave everything he had to his people with expectations of nothing back in return. And yet, despite and in spite of how they treated him, put his body up on a cross, put tacks in his body, swords in his side, thorns in his head, spit on him. Yet he could resurrect to life to return back to the Creator. That was a story that helped our ancestors get to the next day. It met their needs and solved their problems. It was important to them. It did great things for them. However, once it no longer meets your needs and solves your problems, well, let me put it to you like this. There's a brother by the name of Jeremiah Kamene out of Atlanta. He wrote a book called The Week Out of College. And I had a chance to be at the convocation in Detroit at Dr. Ray Hagan's African Village. And Jeremiah Kamene spoke earlier. I spoke in the evening. Jeremiah spoke earlier. He said something. And, later on, I rolled up on the brother. I said, yo, brother, listen, let me tell you something, man. I said, you got to say that again. I'm going to write it down. I said, I'll always give you credit for what you're about to say, but I just got to keep repeating it. I hope you don't mind if I use that, because I said that's quite a nice thing to say. He said, brother, it's yours. I said, but I'll always give you credit. So, Jeremiah Kamene, as it relates to Christianity and any other faith system that we as African people believe in, Jeremiah Kamene was quoting a proverb that said, to continue to believe in a spiritual system.
Thank you so much.
You know where I'm going.
Yes.
To continue to believe in a spiritual system that no longer meets your needs and solve your problems is like carrying the boat on your back after you cross the river. Woo. Bless that boat, because it got you across the river. Follow what it follow. Think about what this is. I have the utmost respect for Christianity, for what it did for our people. I have nothing against any holy system, because if people followed the book, the world would be a different place.
I say,
My problem is when people act in the most devilish way. And you attack their white supremacy or their black supremacy. They hold their Christian book up, or their Muslim book up, or their Jewish book up, or whatever book up, and they say you're attacking the book. I ain't attacking the book, I'm attacking your ignorance.
That's right.
You're hiding behind this. You're hiding. I have nothing against any. If you read the holy books, they all came from Africa anyway. Okay, the Old Testament is the Shabbat stone. The New Testament is the second half of the Shabbat stone. The book of the coming forth the day by night. The resurrection of the light and life comes out of the pyramid text. The moving from one part of the world to another part of the world is the coffin text. So I have no problem with any of your holy books because you copied them off the walls of Africa anyway. So I don't have a problem. The problem is you don't practice what you preach. And when I attack you because of your practice, you tell me I'm attacking your faith system. No, I'm attacking your practice or lack of. To continue to follow a spiritual system that no longer meets your needs and solve your problems, like carrying the boat on your back after you cross the river. The boat got you across. Good thing. But to continue to carry it on land is a burden. It holds you down. It slows you up. Take that boat back to the bank of that river and leave it there. Just in case you might have to cross back over one day. But if you carry it in your back, it becomes a burden. It begins to weigh you down. Because there's another spiritual system that you can believe in. And that spiritual system has but one problem. And it says that each and every one of us is God, having a human experience. And how we treat each other is how we treat the Creator. And it's important that we understand that as brothers and sisters, how we treat each other. That young brother out on the block, hands hanging off his butt, hat on sideways. When you pass that brother, just say hello. As how the correction officers were treating them. Okay, and so they said, no, man, we can't let this happen. And so, okay. But see, what they didn't know is that I knew the Constitution by heart, so I used to just tell them, like Clara Muhammad used to write, come on, man, we know how to get out of this. So I used to just memorize what I was going to teach them and go in and teach it to them, right? And then they got wind of that, and by maybe a year and a half into that, they just said, something, you cannot come back no more. That's how they do it. And if I were them, I'd do the same thing. How are they going to have a job? It's like the time that the minister was in church, he finished up and he was in his room, and the devil come in. And the devil say to the minister, hey, what's up? He said, and the minister started cussing him out. He said, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to get rid of you. He said, shut up, fool, you get rid of me, how you going to work? You ain't got a job. You better hope I'm always around. So they, they got rid of me, and it was all right because it taught me a lesson. It taught me that I was successful in what I was doing. And one of the things that I always do with the young people, something that I just want to do. And then I'm going to stop because I want to hear from y'all, okay? Because I didn't come here to lecture this part. You're not just going to talk to y'all, but I want to read something to you just so you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about. Because it's right here. They wrote this. You see, everybody talk about conspiracy. I don't think conspiracy. Conspiracy gives you the impression of something secret. Everybody's secret about what right in your face telling you this. They're not conspiring here. 13th Amendment. Just ratified the other day. And by the way, the 13th Amendment, like when you get into the Constitution of the United States, what's interesting is that like they show you 13th Amendment, they show you that there's two sections. Taj Bey? Yeah. Okay, Taj Bey gave me a piece of paper. There's 22 sections to the 13th Amendment. But when you get your Constitution, they'll only show you two. Y'all know Taj Bey, right? Bad brothers. Yeah. Have y'all seen the interview that he and I did together? Oh yeah, we spent 2 hours together up in Sonnetta's house. It was on Facebook. If you go to House of Consciousness, I think you can download that. Very, very interesting on etymology and the origins of words. And you see Taj, bless that brother. His dedication to us as a people is phenomenal. His observation of etymology and words becomes so very important as it relates to the African grounding of the meanings of words. See, because it's not the words that's important, it's the sounds that come from your mouth. Yes, it's the vibration, exactly. Vibration, it's what you're feeling. And if you notice, I'm very careful with the words that I use, because I understand the power of words, and I understand what words do to people, because I realize what they do to me. And so etymology has been very important to me, and I have to tell you, one of my greatest setbacks with that interview with Taj Bey is I wish that I had had a pencil and pen to be able to write down what that brother was teaching me, you know? Because I was involved in the conversation. I've seen the DVD since. I've not had a chance to really do it, so I need to take notes. I need to take notes. And that's another thing that we need to start doing, brothers. Is when we come to presentations, we need to have a notebook and pen. We need to write notes so that we can go back, because you know I do recommend that you depend on your memory, but sometimes your memory just doesn't always pick up everything. And so you want to be able to take those notes. And if you and if by chance you don't take notes, you may not be that good in writing, draw pictures. Okay? You don't have to write words in order to do this. I do apologize, brothers and sisters. This is not something that normally I gotta put it on vibrate, but I'm waiting for this to get out of here now. 13th Amendment. Here's what it says. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, comma, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, comma, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Now, etymologically speaking, what did I just say?
If you're locked up, you don't have no right.
Still a slave.
Exactly.
As long as they can go ahead and guilty.
Exactly. It's called a contrasting conjunction. Except. And when you use a contrasting conjunction, it negates everything you said in front.
Right.
So slavery and involuntary servitude still exists by law.
Absolutely.
In prison. That's why but see, privatizing prisons will never work. Just like privatizing schools will never work. Never work. Because basically what you're doing when you privatize something, see, right now in the prison system, when someone works for the government, they're doing something for a larger entity than themselves. They feel obligated by moral code to do something. When you're into a private situation, it's about money. So you're going to put me in with the dangerous prisoners, you better pay me extra money. And if anything go down, I better have insurance to cover me for what's going to happen. The system is never going to be able to pay that. The same way with schools when they're trying to get merit pay and all of that, that will never work. It's not going to work. Because that becomes subject to the person making the decision as to whether or not you merit that pay. And then you're going to have internal battles in school. Then you're going to have principals giving the best students to certain teachers who are their friends, and the worst students to the ones they're trying to get rid of. And then you're going to have people plotting stuff in schools, and then it's going to be a problem. You see, so that private stuff don't work. Money will never ever work. But when you are arrogantly ignorant, you believe your superiority can get you. That's why to this day Mitt Romney's still trying to figure out, after all the cheating he did, how he lost. In fact, they have this big CPAC conference right now trying to figure this out. How did we lose? Our fathers and mothers told us we were superior over these Spanish-speaking and these colored people. What's going on here? It's over. White supremacy is dead. Can't you smell the rigor mortis? It's dead. People say it's dying. It's not dying. It's dead. The only one keeping alive is us.
Absolutely.
When someone wishes to oppress you, they give you a myth, They get you to believe the myth, you form the habit of believing the myth. And while it's always the last one formed, it's always the hardest one to get rid of. And that's the habit of believing in white supremacy. And that's what we have to start to look at. The story I want to tell you, then we're going to wrap this piece up. I was in Rikers Island. I was part of a rite of passage program for young brothers. And maybe we'll have a chance to do this. Brother, part of the program of the rite of passage, I'm in the chapel, okay, because that's where I used to meet the young people. We're in the chapel, Christian chapel. And I'm up on the dais, and I'm looking out into the group of the young brothers, okay? And people from the prison are all up here, and I'm sitting, and I'm looking out. The brother gets up, and his contribution to this activity is to sing. And he gets up to sing a song. And as he began to sing the song, I said, I know this song, but his brother sure don't sound like the person I heard it. In fact, it sounds sad. And I said, well, wait a minute, I know that song. I'm trying to rack my, and then I realized, okay, I believe I can fly. R. Kelly. Brother sounds sad. I mean, really sad. You don't sound like R. Kelly. This is not the theme to Space Jam and the life of Michael Jordan. Brother sound real sad. But as I'm listening to him sing this song, something is going to start to come over me, because I'm listening to the words, I'm realizing the 13th Amendment, and I know where I am. This song transports me back to a plantation in 1700. Don't have to have a long conversation, because you probably don't want to talk that long to you anyway. But just say hello. It's very un-African to get on an elevator and not speak. Good morning. Hello. Okay. But you want to know something? Next time I get on that elevator, I may not get that. I might get a smile. The third time I get on the elevator, they might say hi back. The fourth time I get on that elevator, they may say hi first. Because you're wearing down that pain that we've gone through as a people. But it's un-African not to speak to each other, to address each other, to respect, respect, to look again, to say again, to speak again. It's an African tradition. This is us as a people, light and heat energy, to see the light and heat energy in each other. Hey, how you doing? Young brother on the street. Hey, how you doing? When I walk down, because I got to walk past my building down when I'm going towards my car, all the brothers are out. Okay, they just, hey brother, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Whoa, what's up with you? Just going down the street. Hey, what's up with you? When I was a young man, my father's from Alabama, Booker T, Tuskegee, Alabama, at that. And he brought that Tuskegee Bama attitude with him. And I used to, as a young man, I used to be standing there, my father would be talking to somebody. I mean, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah. Going back and forth. I say, wow, and then after my father, hey, have a good day there. Okay. By the way, what's your name? I said, he said, no, I didn't know him. This is the first time I ever know him. But my father was talking to him like they were long lost buddies from Alabama. Like he ain't seen him in 20 years. But that's how we are. When we engage in a conversation, we can start talking to each other, but it's because our kindred spirits connect. And those were around for billions of years. And when we make that connection, it's very real with us. It's not just an African tradition, it's an original, universal condition. Because I don't want to get too caught up on Africa, because we are a universal people, and the only people on the planet are Africans. Because that's the other thing. We just go from the coloration of what might be considered to be dark black to light black. Light black being your peoples. But they black too. They may not want to admit it, but that's fine, because I don't necessarily want to be around this. And no, nothing personal. I ain't mad at them. But they have to grow up.
That's right.
Before they can sit with the adults. And these are just some of the ideas I just wanted to share with you. Please read the homework. if I get a chance, I really would like to maybe later on, maybe be able to play I Believe I Can Fly, because I got it on a flash drive. Just so you can hear the words. And I just really appreciate it. The greatest thing that we have is time. There's nothing more precious than time. If you take a man that has, or a woman that has all the money in the world, everything in the world, and they're sitting on their deathbed, you ask them, I'll give you one thing. They don't want more money, they don't want more sneakers, they don't want more houses, just a little bit more time. And for you to take this time out of your Saturday to be here, just know I really appreciate this fellowship. And I look forward to what we're going to do on the other side, but I'd like to just stop here and just open up a dialogue. If I can just bring brother back or somebody back front to just navigate us through that process. Again, I thank you so much. Shema
Again, as the brother said, thank y'all for coming out. We appreciate y'all for coming and supporting. It's a privilege to have an honor and an elder like this brother has with us today. So as he said, anybody have any questions? This is the part.
I thank all those that were involved in Hidden Colors for giving this opportunity to make this happen. Because I've been involved in documentaries before, but none of them ever hit like Hidden Colors. There was something about the time and space of Hidden Colors. Like Malcolm said when he was interviewed in 1963, and they said, well, the Nation of Islam has been around for so long, why is it now flourishing? And he gave the analogy of a flower that blossomed in its time. There's a time for all things. And what has been happening is that this has been within us. And Hidden Colors was that spot of sunlight. It was that piece of mineral. It was that drop of water that made that flower blossom. With everything else that has happened, with all of the other scholars that have been around, Hidden Colors did something. And it is important that we ride this wave and take it to the next level and not let it phase out. So I encourage you all to reach out to Brother Tariq Nasheed and encourage him to do HC3, because he's in the process of doing it. Don't let it go now. I think that Chancellor Williams' concept, I was with Dr. Williams in the 80s. I used to go to DC, and I used to visit him when he was in the home, and we used to talk. And he had just had a major catastrophe where he lost all of his books. And brother had, at that point, lost his sight. And he spoke about the things that we could do as a people, straight up, and that we had it within us to do it. My recommendation as a master plan is to look at the pyramids. The pyramids of Kamene, Dr. Clark used to always say, is a culmination of a society's total wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It incorporated every facet of the community and brought in a living system of economics at that time in order to build those pyramids. The scientists were involved, the artists were involved, the people who cooked were involved, the people who made shoes were involved, the people who built houses were involved. Everybody was involved in this pyramid city. And I'm saying that we need to take something and put all of our energies into this. Your tailors, okay? Everybody in our system, and I'll give you what I think that we could look at to develop school. We could make the school the same way they did the pyramid. Take all of our energies. Those of us who are tailors can make the clothing for the teachers and for the students. Those who are into jewelry. Here's what I'm saying. For instance, in the first grade, when we teach math, children, they have manipulatives. Bears, balloons, okay? Little trinkets, inexpensive. I'm saying to the jewelers that can make molds, I'm saying let our children count onyx, Sanctifus. Give them pages with 10 pictures of Al-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz and ask them, how many pictures of Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz do you see? See, this is why when children grow up, the first thing they want to do after they win the Super Bowl, they want to go to Disneyland. Because the Mickey Mouse and all the rest of this stuff has been ingrained in their head from a child. But if you put other images, into their psychological factor. And then you teach what it is. We can start with meta symbols, vultures. We can start with ibis head bird, because I have little plants. But you have to manufacture them inexpensively. So you can make thousands of them. So that you can put a jar of ounce on a table and tell the children, take out 5. Okay? Now, take away 2. How many do you have left? You see? And so that's where jewelers who make molds that may do gold and silver can do these little pieces that they can sell, and the community would buy them. They can go to homes. You can do sangre. You can go to the Andinkra symbols. You can go to any place, Central South Africa, take the symbols and create an understanding of what these symbols represent. Because who cares about balloons? Who cares about multicolored bears? But this is what our children are counting in the classroom. So this is, when we talk about the African-centered curriculum, this is what I'm talking about. Real. I want academic excellence for our children. I want them to be masterful mathematicians and scientists. I want them to be biologists. I want them to study. So I am saying that my master plan that I see is to look at building a school. And right here in this room, you can say, and the school that you want to build could be in a community center. Please know, I'm not talking about a building. If you know of a church, a progressive church that could bring you in and develop this program, I'm willing to come back and do the staff development. Because that's my life. That's what I do. I go around the country and I develop staff. I develop parents. I work with homeschoolers to go through. You've got to understand the brain. A teacher who doesn't understand the parts of the brain is equivalent to a brain surgeon that doesn't understand where the brain is. How can you teach what you don't know? You need to know the limbic system in the brain. 3 parts of the brain. The R complex, or the brain stem, the limbic system, the neocortex. You just need to know that. In the limbic system, your R complex is responsible, it's the oldest brain, it's the oldest part of your brain, and that's responsible for your R complex. You know, that's the R complex, that's responsible for like your fight and flight. That's the older brother that just wants to protect everybody. Sister that say, hey, listen, no, hit him. Okay? Because that's the protective brain. That's the first brain that we had when we were in our early development stage. That's the one that said, yo, forget that. We're either going to run or we're going to fight. Fight or flight. Building up out of the R complex is your limbic system, which is responsible for your feelings. The neocortex is responsible. This is the youngest brain. The neocortex is the largest part of the brain. That is responsible for your thinking. In your limbic system, there you have a knob in your limbic system called the amygdala. Okay? A-M-Y-G-D-A-L-A. That's where your, every facial expression you have, that's the part of your brain that emanates that. So that's where your anger is, that's where your happiness is, that's where your sadness is, that's where your inquisitiveness is, that's where your fear is. When we teach our children, and we're threatening them with failure, when we're threatening them with failing a test, when we're threatening them with being left back, when we're constantly coming at them with fear, we are teaching to the amygdala. When it's time to take a test, the amygdala locks that information like prison. So when people get test anxiety, it comes out of the fact that you're trying to, let's just say you're trying to free a prisoner. The prisoner is the information. You're trying to get them out of prison in order to come forward to answer the question. But they're locked up. And according to how afraid you are, for those of you who have test anxiety, you know what I'm saying. The more fearful you are, the harder it is to remember. We have to teach our teachers and our parents. Hey, you got this. Don't sweat it, man. We'll get there. You'll understand it. We won't, in fact, you know something? It's exciting. Because the excitement is, we're going to figure out how you're going to get this. And that's really what I want you to learn. Not so much what you learn. The Moors used to say, after you learn something, you could throw what you learned away because it was the process of learning it that was the most important facet. It's how your neurons are electrified. It's how your neurons are chemically being impacted to shoot those images back and forth, creating thoughts. It's exciting. So in our classrooms, we have to excite our children. So that when they come into class, hey, let's get it. This is a good day. Okay, so they come in with a feeling, that's teaching to the hippocampus. The hippocampus sits at the floor of your lateral ventricle. See, this is why we have to learn science. See, I'm about science. It's not all about history, although it does have its place. Malcolm said, history is important. But if as an educator, as a parent, as a person, you know how to interact with people, okay? There's time for me. There are some people I need to tangle with your amygdala. There are some people who only understand fear. So I understand that, but for the most part, my relationships is, I'm talking to your hippocampus, because that's your long-term memory. That's where your long-term memory is stored. The hippocampus is where you're comfortable. Not like laid back comfortable, but you're comfortable, you're excited, you're enthused, you want to learn this. You can see the reason why you need to learn this. You enjoy the person that you're learning it from because you know the person enjoys being with you. We have a school system that teaches to the amygdala because there's money in failure. The moment your children start to get smart, they start pulling money out of school. For the people who don't even care about your children, that means that vacation in the summertime not going to happen unless they can pull somebody in summer school. Because they don't teach summer school. So we have to begin to develop this program. So we talk about a master plan and how we can do this. Focus on a community school. You can focus on this world. You can focus on somebody has a house that has a room that you can have a good number, maybe 30 students in it with a couple adults in it. You can do it there. But we got to know what education is, and we got to return back to an African model of wisdom and knowledge, and we're not there yet. Because there is no money in wisdom and knowledge. There's only money in faith. Please, sister. What is your name, my sister? How would you like to be called?
Zuri.
Zuri.
My son was diagnosed with part of the autism realm, and we had pulling him off for homeschooling, but we had a problem with it, so we kind of put him back to school. Now, how do you think, because that is something that we really want to do is homeschool. How do we tackle that?
Let me recommend somebody that you can talk to that can answer your question much better. Dr. Umar Johnson.
I knew you were going to say that.
That is his job. You see what I say about people who know where they're good at? Okay? We have to direct our community to people who can handle those questions far better than I. He's updated, that's his field, that's his understanding. There are things that he can tell you. Contact Dr. Umar Johnson in one way or another and let him know some of the concepts that you're looking at. Once that happens, I can tell you certain things about it because I work with autistic children. I work with indigo children. Do y'all know what indigo children are?
Yes.
Indigo children are children who are absolute geniuses,
Yes.
but only in one area.
Yes.
And I've worked with indigo children that, in fact, I've worked with about 7 indigo children, all black or Hispanic. And my last autistic, the last child I dealt with, indigo. Indigo children are very interesting. They have a very serious problem with authority. And that's most black children. Very serious problem with authority. But there's a way you can talk to them. And the way I used to talk to this young brother that I'm talking about, because I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. Sisters were really heavy. I mean, sisters were. Those children I dealt with that were indigo to sisters, they were deep. Because they thought like an adult. And the way they used to, I said, okay. They were tight, they were real, but they felt they were women. But they were children. But their minds were women. They thought way ahead. They were like elders. Have you ever seen or said, that's an old soul? Well, I mean, I've had some sisters that were old souls, because sisters are so mature anyway from a very young age. When I dealt with sisters, something else. But this young brother, I used to look at my door, and would see, he had a special knock he used to do at the door. And I looked at the door, I said, what is it? Because I'd be teaching class. And he said, oh man, she's so stupid. And I said, wait. I said, so-and-so, teacher, she's stupid. I said, so what's it? He said, I taught her that. I said, you stupid. And he said, come on, brother, come. Tell me the truth. She's stupid. I said, yeah. But you can't tell her that, brother. You're right. You're right. But you can't tell her that. I said, I don't care. I said, why don't you care? She said, because he said, because I know when I call her stupid, he send me to you. And I said, well, let me have a little situation. Because I think I'm doing a little private tutorial there, because he followed me around the school all the time. I gave him an assignment. The assignment was for him I gave him number 7. And I said, I want you to list everything that you can give me that relates to number 7. Okay, brother. Next day, 23 pages
Wow.
of references to number 7. Just things that come in 7.
Excuse me.
I said, okay. Let's do number 8. Come next day. I'm throwing out these numbers because it could vary. 16 pages of things that relate to the number 8. There was one thing he didn't have. I turned the 8 sideways for infinity. You said, wow. You said, I'm going to work on that. By the end of the day, he had 8 pages of things that refer to infinity. He didn't even wait till the next day. He was a genius in symbolic numerology. I normally start with numerology with children who are indigo. Synthesis, you've heard of synthesis. Something African folk are very, very good at, but we don't practice it enough. It's when more of your senses are at work. In other words, they can smell music. They can use their olfaction, their smell, with sound. Or they can see colors in music. Or they can feel music. Have you ever listened to a song and your skin starts to... That's what people in movies try to do. They try to take music, like for instance, if I would go, dun, 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 dun. Say what? Jaws. You see, you say, masterful piece of music as it relates to a movie, because you can hear that anywhere in the world, and the one thing you always go back to is Jaws. Black folks do that all the time. We do that in ways that we can take all of our 5 senses and use them to create imagery, so that the children who are autistic, I know a young man, in fact, I don't even know if we should use the word autistic. I'm very careful, because I do not believe that there is such a thing as a disadvantage. I call it other gift. See, we're living in a society that has defined what everything is. And I am saying that our Creator has given us gifts in multiple ways. And life's journey is to find the way in which you tap into that genius. And so as mother and as father, you attempt to take them through processes that allows them to test that genius. Had a young man, his brother, student of mine, his brother, they said was autistic. I'm so afraid of these labels that we give people, because basically we're human, with varying ways of living. He said his brother was fascinated with doors. Now to me, psychologically, that's what you look at it. Because I told him now to take him places where there's many doors. Because he used to just come and open. Now, on one level, that's very dangerous in a sense, because if he opens the door and the wrong person walks in, he's in trouble. But to explore that concept of doors, where is he going? What is he looking for? What does he expect behind him? Talk to him as you're going through the doors. You know, take him places and let him open up the door and say, well, before you open the door, what's on the other side? Because he may be able to tell you what's on the other side, and you may not even know. He may say, there's a man with red hair and blue eyes, and he's going to ask you, what do you want? And when you open up that door, there is a man with red hair and blue eyes that says, what do you want? He might be able to tell you things that you don't know. So that I say that we need to begin to look at our children differently than the way the system is. One of the most dangerous things that you could ever do is when you're in a mixed cultural group to ever ask out loud, did you hear that? Very dangerous. Because your melanin in your inner ear allows you to hear things other people can't hear. Don't ever ask them, did you see that? Because your melanin in your retina allows you to see things that other people cannot see with a lack of melanin. So that we have got to begin to develop an understanding of who we are as a people. And we have to go to the right people to ask them these questions, and I believe that Dr. Umar Johnson is the person. I have an idea of how to take him through a learning process, but he has a way to talk about the diagnosis and whether or not your young man should be in school, and if he's not in school, what can you do to put him where he belongs as a young African person. Dr. Umar Johnson is the one that can answer that question. I can answer what he should experience because I have a sense having worked with autistic children in the school setting. But when it comes to those other finer details as it relates to medical and clinical determinations, tests that need to be taken, Dr. Umar Johnson is the brother. And there are other folk too, but Dr. Umar is the one that I really focus on because he's an up-and-coming brother deep inside the younger generation. He has lived through this, and I think he's the one to contact. I'm sure that somebody can help you. Yeah, yeah. There are folk that can help you. Okay.
The sister in the back right here.
Hi, my name is Amatula, and my son is also autistic, and I would like to share the experience with you and then find out if there's contact information to stay in touch with you. On Wednesday, February 20th, my son was in school, and I believe that he outsmarted his teacher, and as a means of punishment, because she couldn't get him to stop laughing and being silly, she zipped him up in a contraption known as the purple sock. And the purple sock is comparable to, I don't know, a straitjacket for children. So the child steps completely in it, the body and the movement is restricted, and it zips up over the child's head also. She placed him in the contraption. I don't know if she left him unattended or what, but he then fell on his face and a permanent tooth was knocked out. The teachers took him to the nurse's office and they continued to try to cover the evidence, and he was restrained again and the tooth was forced back in place. The ambulance was never called, there was never an incident report, and they did their best to cover it up, but the problem is like you stated earlier, that these children are not disadvantaged, they have elephants-like memories. So a couple of days later, after he was not upset, he was able to tell me step for step what the teacher did to him and how he was injured and taken advantage of at this school. My question is kind of like hers. Yeah, we want to homeschool our children, but we have to survive also. We need help. We need elders like you to guide us. I would like to stay in touch because of the information that you have, but I also would like to know what your opinion is on this whole crazy situation.
That's exactly what I would say. It's a crazy situation. And I believe that if you don't protect him, nobody else will.
Yes, sir.
That's what you are as advocate. And with people who are in this room today, if there's anyone, see, this is the advantage to having this type of, if there's anyone that can help Sister here in Columbus, you need to make sure that you follow up with Sister to go through that process. I also recommend that you reach out to Dr. Umar Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Find out here in Columbus, because you may have people here in Columbus that can also assist you. That's why I say folk here that may know people who are like Dr. Johnson can help you directly in Columbus, and they can be certified for Columbus, Ohio, to be able to do these types of things. The most important thing you do is to keep a paper trail. This system works from paper. You date things, and in your paper, you request a response. Because once you say that, by law, they must respond to you.
Okay.
And if they do not, if they choose to do not, because they may be ignorant of the fact that they must respond. Once you say, I am anxiously awaiting a response to this letter, they must then put, as stated in your letter, dated so-and-so and so-and-so. So when you get into a court of law, if that's where this takes it, you can have a paper trail where you can line up your letters. The system works by letters. I was very good at letters because I realized how the system works. So the system works through paper. And that's what you want to work on. You want to write a letter. It does not have to be a long letter, but it expresses itself. On February 20th, my son had an experience. You outline it. You outline what happened, and you request a letter from the school nurse or whoever was involved explaining what their part in this event was. They must respond to you by law when you request a response. And if they don't, then you write a letter again almost immediately. See, where we lose our thing is focus, that we stop the onslaught.
Right.
We back up and say, oh, but we don't know how legally entwined, and they're hoping you don't know the law. And there are words that you use as, I expect a response to this letter. You CC it to the people you think need to see it, whether it's the school nurse, find out her name, and you send it to the superintendent of the school or the chancellor. You send it to the principal. I would recommend in the beginning set of your letters, do not accuse cover-up. Build into them. Because they will label you at that point. Because without evidence, you can't really make accusations in this system. So if you start off with, I just want to know what happened. Start off there. And then as they begin to try to play tricks with you, that's when you start putting in, I'm wondering why I'm being given the runaround. And then you begin to ask questions like, are you attempting to not give me information? You ain't used the word cover-up yet. So you build your case against them as the letters continue, but you must write letters.
Okay.
That is the cornerstone to your success if it needs to go to a court of law. That's the only thing this system works by, is paper. And don't go by no phone call. If you do get a phone call, you then write a letter as per our conversation dated so-and-so. You stated so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. If they don't respond to that, they must accept the fact that that's what they said to you if it goes to a court of law. Okay. You can put in a letter, if there are any areas where I may not be as accurate as I should be, please write back to me and let me know where. And if they don't write back to you, they are automatically assuming everything you said in that letter is true. This is what's going to happen in the court of law. Because the judge is going to say, well, if she said this to you and she asked you for clarification, why didn't you say that's not how it happened? Then that smells like cover-up. And see, that's when the judge now begins to take an opinion on what's going on. Because that's where you stated your case very clearly. If you need help from people, reach out to people who can help you with your letter writing. People that can make that letter fine-tune it for you. Make sense?
Yes.
Did I answer your question the best possible way?
Yes.
Because my sister, I do want to tell you, I'm curriculum. But I've also had experiences in systems. And I know where our strengths are and where we have not been that strong. Letter writing. Haunt them. Because that's the one thing they don't want to have to do. That is really the downfall of the success or the not success. So you get that letter off as of Monday. You can send them certified if you want. Okay, send them certified, the receipt, return, however you want to do it. May cost you a little bit more money, but it's all worth it in the end as it relates to the verification that people have received that letter. If ever you should go into the school and handwrite a letter, you have the school secretary sign a transmittal form that says, I am in receipt of letter from so-and-so on this date. Because the principal probably not going to want to sign for it. So you have the school secretary sign for it. They must sign for it by law. They can't tell you, I'm not going to sign that. Even at that, what you can do is say, if, let's say the secretary's name is, let's say, Miss whatever. You say, Miss whatever, is aware of this letter but refuses to sign. And if she accepts that letter, she cannot say that she didn't know it. And when it goes to a court of law, the judge will say, well, the transmittal says this, you didn't sign for it, so you got it? She can't lie. Well, she can lie. Okay. But she then puts herself in big, deep trouble, and she in more trouble than the principal is at this point. Because now it's really covered. And you go with a friend to make sure your friend can verify. I saw her give that letter. She did refuse to sign. It's unfortunate that you have to go through this. It's unfortunate that your young man has to go through this. But this is a lesson that both you and he can learn in life as it relates to what you got to do sometimes when you stand up for what you believe. It's unfortunate, but it's part of life, my sister.
Before I go to the next question, this sister works in the school system and she had a suggestion as well.
Put a deadline on your letter, like ask them to respond by a certain timeline, because if not, I don't know what school he goes to, but we're at the end of the school year, and that's when a lot of stuff starts disappearing. Like I work with an agency, but I go to multiple schools, and right now it's the wrap up, cover up to say that they've been working with kids and they know what's going on with kids. I'm a mental health social worker, and so I deal with children who are mentally ill and make sure that they receive fair services.
Okay.
Can I recommend that you two sisters speak to each other,
Yeah.
transfer information? See, this is what these types of fellowships do. Okay, and this is what helps us through the process. And this is why I'm encouraging you to support Brother Morgan and Brother Ed, Sister Renee, and Sister Linda, and all the others that are doing this kind of work. Because you got to come back to these meetings. You got to keep this fire going. You got to keep this going.
I want to say that we are fighting, and that we do have a press conference scheduled next Friday here at 4:30. The teacher's been suspended, and so has the principal, but there are other people that I'm going after, so if you want to support us, we'll be here.
Please let me ask you this. Do you have that in writing?
Yes, sir.
No, well, okay, because always ask for it in writing. Because word of mouth don't mean a thing, phone calls don't mean a thing, because they all can say that never happened.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, please say that.
White people say if it's not written, it didn't happen.
Exactly, okay. If it, and some black folk too. If it ain't written, it didn't happen. Okay, I mean, that's just how people get over on this thing. I've learned this. Education is, being in the educational system has taught me so much about how the system works, because just about everything that could happen to a human being happens within a school system, because you're dealing with children. Yes, the miseducation system, absolutely.
We only got 10 minutes left, so I got 3 questions, 1, 2, and then 3. And I'm sorry, and 4. We got to get the elder. I'm sorry. We got 10 minutes, so kind of make it quick now.
Hi, I have a comment and a question. I feel we have a crisis going on throughout the United States in terms of losing our black males to violence, weapons of mass destruction. I'd like to ask you, as a black male, in your experience on the streets, what do you think is happening with the black-on-black crime escalation, and how can we stop the bloodshed?
I believe I believe what we're experiencing now is more a collapse of the world Western civilization. And I believe that when white folk get common cold, we get pneumonia. And I believe that it impacts us stronger than others. But it's happening all over, my sister. Look at Newtown. Okay, you know, we do have black-on-black violence, there's no question. But we are not psychotic.
That's right.
We have our problems. I'm not even going to attempt to play with that. We have reasons, no excuses, but we do have reasons for that behavior. Brother going to a movie house, he watching a movie. He paid $12 to go to the movie, and there's a brother in the front row that's talking to the screen. Brother say, yo, I paid $12 for this movie, man, shut up. I don't want to hear you talk. Brother keep talking to the screen. Brother say, yeah, I told you. Don't make me have to go. I paid $12 for this movie. Guy telling me, oh, shut up, man. I'm going to tell you the same way because I saw it before the public did. Oh, my God, I'm going to shoot him. when that brother went to the movie, he was not planning to kill that guy. And had that guy shut his mouth, that guy would have walked out the movie house alive. When you walk into a movie house and throw 2 canisters and then open up fire on the movie house in Aurora, Colorado, and then say you the Joker and you got red hair, that's psychotic. Okay? When you walk into an elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut, and you walk in there and I don't know if you saw, as they went, just recently, they actually showed exactly what happened in that school that day. They walked you through the whole thing. And they told folks, turn the TV off if you think you can't handle it. And they walked you through what that young man did in that school. See, he didn't shoot those children. He slaughtered them. Not one child had less than 9 bullets. He shot 151 bullets in those classrooms. There were insides of children on the floor. There were brains scattered all on the floor. He slaughtered 151 bullets, 152 altogether was shot. The last one was the one he used on himself, and that was the pistol. When word got out that people were upset about these weapons, the assault weapons, Europeans went out and bought out the house. Okay? So you know what you deal with? We have our problems, there's no question. Drive-bys, there's a reason for a drive-by. You mess with my boy, that's it, I'm going to get you. There's reasons why we do what we do, as off as they may be, as unacceptable as they are. And I believe there is a remedy for our young people, and I believe the most perfect family unit that exists in our community is the Bloods and the Crips. They are a family. They do for our children what we as mothers and fathers aren't doing. So when I say to speak to those brothers in the street, and those sisters too, I'm talking about being some form of a family to them, so that they don't have to resort to that. What African Bambaataa did to build the Zulu nation was he gathered up the street organizations, or the gangs, of the Bronx. And that's who became the Zulu nation. I've been with the Zulu nation from its beginning. Not as a member of, but as a consultant to. I've gone to their annual conventions. I've worked with the young people on several occasions. I've done different things for BAM and for Shaka Zulu and for others who are part of the Zulu nation and for the Moorish and the Amorex and all the other organizations trying to do this. So I have a feeling for these young people. I have nothing but respect and love for them. But we got to work with you, brother. We're going to work with you, sister. I know what's happening. I cannot make up for whatever has not happened. But whatever I can do to make it a little bit easier for you, I'm here for you. And as adults, I believe that we have not stood up with our own courage. I take full responsibility for the condition we find ourselves. I don't blame white folk for this. That's right. And the reason why I don't blame white folk is not because I don't think they're guilty. It's because when you put power in the hands of someone else to get you out of a situation, you also give them the power to keep you in. Simple mathematical formula. Okay. When I am looking for my solutions, and I make solutions as to how I believe we can make this happen, if I take full responsibility for what has to happen, and I decide that I want to build a school, or I want to start a program, or I want to do this, and a person of European descent comes up to me and questions me, I say, look, you're not a variable in my phone. I never blamed you. I never said anything about you. You've got nothing to do with it. Mind your business. Go back in New York. I didn't ask you. You're not a variable, and in a mathematical formula, if you're not a variable, you're not part of the solution. But until we take full responsibility, and as long as we're blaming other people, I know who threw me in the pit. But now I have a choice. I can either continue to yell out at the person that threw me in the pit, or I can spend my time climbing out the pit. I'm going out the pit. I'm climbing out the pit. I don't care who threw me in. I'm in it. Don't make a difference who threw me in. I got to get out. So what we have to do is figure out how we're going to take our young people in. And what I'm saying is that one thing you can do when you are bleeding And they say, what you do is you go to the closest part where the blood is letting. Close that off, because there's not much you can do with the blood that's already out. So with due respect to all those brothers, I say start with our babies. Start to build. Try to do everything. Set aside people who can handle those young middle schoolers, those high schoolers, those college, those elementary school students. Reach to the mothers that are expecting children. Start with them. Take them through the process of understanding how they have to conduct themselves, the foods that they have to eat. Because let me tell you something. With all this wonderful information we got, if it's in a sick body, it ain't going to do no good, because it's going to die prematurely. Take care of your health. Exercise every day. Make sure you do abdomen exercises, because your organs are attached to your backbone, and a strong backbone has strong organs and glands. Well, glands in particular. Strong glands keep the fluids going through your body. And the way to keep a strong back is to do abdominal exercises. Get that body flowing. Move your body all the time. If you're waiting for a bus, do some deep knee bends. That's right. Flex your body like that. Do some exercise. Got to do exercise. And sisters, I know you spent a lot of money on that do. But you ain't exercising if you ain't sweating.
That's right.
And I know hair go home when you sweat. But you better get over it. You know, they have a picture. They sent me a picture on Facebook of what a pool party looks like with black folk and what a pool party looks like with white folk. White folk, everybody in the water, and black folk, everybody sitting there behind the table. Everybody in the water, because hair go home with the water, because you're going back to your original state when you go back into the water. So hair go home. So let's get real about this. Your hair may be fly, but you may be sick as a dog. You gotta exercise, brothers and sisters. You gotta exercise every day. You gotta get your blood flowing. You gotta reach out to people like Dr. Sadie, Sister Ma'a, Laila Africa, okay, Queen of Fu. I could go through the line. You all know who I'm talking about. You know, you gotta change your diet. You gotta have behavior modification. I'll be honest with you. I love coffee. Me and Malcolm. I love coffee. I put milk in my coffee. I put sugar in my coffee. Am I right? I know that's not right, but I like it. Sometimes I like a little ice cream. Sometimes I eat cake. Okay? I never eat meat. Okay? My first reason not to eat meat is not because of the damage it does to your body. That's the second reason. The first reason I don't eat meat is because I do not believe from a spiritual perspective that an animal should die to feed me when I know there's so much other things I can do.
That's right.
I don't kill cockroaches. I don't want cockroaches on my food. So I control the movement of cockroaches. But I don't kill them, because in your mind, anytime you have the word kill in your mind, sometimes you get confused as to who should die. And you start with a cockroach. The next may be your neighbor. I don't like the word kill. That's not to say that I don't understand what you're trying to do. See, because there's another side to this also. I'm going to call it righteous indignation. You see, yeah, I know that there are times when I will bend that rule where someone does have to feel the wrath. You see, I've got, well, see, people say to me, brother, I know what it is, but you know how I am. You know, there's a brother in me, you know, that I keep locked up, and even sisters, you have a male in you also. And I keep that brother locked up. And I have a sister, there's a feminine principle within me that holds the key to the prison. Okay? That brother's name inside that I have in prison, his name is Colin Ferguson. You all know who Colin Ferguson is? Go on the Long Island Railroad and just shoot the whole train up a white boat because he got tired of it. I got that person in me. I tell people, you know, to be a black man in America, they say, you schizophrenic. I tell them, to be a black man in America, not only am I schizophrenic, I have 14 personalities. My wife told me that I have 17 because there's 3 that even I don't know that she's identified. But my thing is, I know who's under control. You see, it's when that other one gets in control that you have a problem. See, I have a mastermind that's in charge of everything. The pineal gland directs everybody. You know, there are times where the mastermind will tell the sister that's guarding Colin Ferguson down there, he say, oh, let Colin rattle the bars. It's time for people to know he exists. So we let Colin rattle those bars, but we don't let him out, because if we let him out, you will never see me again. Okay, and so I know keep that brother locked up, because he not to be let out. He not to be, trust me when I tell you this, he not to be let out, because everything that has ever happened to me as a human being is in that brother. Not just as a black man, not just as a man, but as a human being. The indignation I have as it relates to the way in which collectively they have treated us historically. Okay, Colin Ferguson has a mind within him. His name is Nat. Okay, and that is pissed. I can tell you that right now, because Nat sent me messages. And I said, Nat, stop. You know,
The young brother right here had one on the end.
How y'all doing? I understand we got a lot of leg work to do as people,
yes.
but I would just like to know, how do we go about correcting the paperwork as a people, so far as, you know, our status with the government and not being human?
Well, I respect all people's approaches towards what they like to do. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ain't signed no papers. Ain't going through no process.
That's right.
There's one reason why I'm sorry.
That's right.
I said I'm sorry. I said it.
That's right.
Simple. Psychology, brother. The psychology of what we are experiencing as a people. With due respect to everybody, and I know, I know, okay. But I believe that we are expending a great deal of our energy chasing something that they would never respect, even if we did everything by the letter. We are dealing with genetic liars. Fundamental people who would not know the truth if they could. I don't feel like wasting my time. I obey the law. I don't mess with the law. I live by a higher moral code than the great majority of people. And so I am sovereign because I say I'm sovereign. And I live my life as a sovereign being. If you want to implant on me your problem, see, like in Hidden Colors too, one thing I said, see, black folk don't have a problem. White folk have a problem. Black folks suffer because white folk problem. And white folk problem is white supremacy. And they're going to try to put that on me. They're going to try to push that on me. And what I am saying to them is what Malcolm told them, is that you are not the measure of man that I wish to measure my manhood by. It's a simple process, brother. And I understand what your question is. Now I know it's time to wrap. Brother was watching me, so I knew it was time. Now his sister come up and fold her hand. Hey, brother, you gotta be obedient. So that's really my response to your question, brother. It may seem oversimplified, but we have so much work that we have to do. I want to pick my battles and understand what it is that we have to do so that we don't get tripped up in areas that will keep us locked up in situations that they would not honor even if I did everything. So I'm going to end up in 10 years with papers that may not really even be what's on, because by the time the 10 years come, there's not one treaty they ever lived by. They broke every treaty they ever made. They are genetic liars. They speak with forked tongue. I hope I'm making sense to you guys.
So basically, because you say it's not, there's no process that you have to go through.
I am not saying that there is not a process that I know brothers and sisters go through. And I respect that. If that's what you want to do, then that is your business. I honor you and I respect you. And if there's anything I can do to support what you're doing, I'm with you. I ain't going. I ain't going. I ain't wasting my time. Because I know who I'm dealing with. And why am I going to go to you to ask you to free me? Because if you could free me, you wouldn't have enslaved me.
Tell me about it.
You see, but I respect those that do it. I respect, I love our people. And I respect all the things that we're attempting to do to get to where we need to get, and I respect that and I honor that. But each and every one of us has to choose our path that of least resistance. And I am so fundamentally involved in developing curriculum, I don't have time to go to court. I just don't have, I don't have the money. Yeah, you know, it's not in me to do that, and I know that. And I know I have a certain amount of time to live. I've been doing pretty good up until these 60 years. I hope to live another 60 years. I think that we can move through this process, but I don't want to spend 10 years in a court of law around people that I can't stand because they smell. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. See, I told you Nat comes out and Nat just jumped out. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but Nat jumped out.
So basically, there's brothers that enjoy going
Yes.
dealing with the law.
Absolutely.
And those,
Absolutely, and they should. And I respect them for that. And I'm not going to even tell them what they should and should not do, because I would hope they would not tell me what I should and should not do. We must respect each other and the lives and the paths that we've chosen, and I respect that. I told you, Taj Bey, I have the utmost regard and respect for that brother. Okay, he and I can sit and talk. He can explain things to me, and I can understand things that he is saying, and I can get with him and all of that. But that doesn't mean that he has to choose my path, nor I choose his. We can love each other as brothers and keep going forward. And I can assist him in any way I can. He can assist me in any way he can. And we have to become issue-oriented and not personality-oriented. Because that's one of the things that destroy us. I have worked with people that can't stand me. And quite frankly, I don't care too much for them. But because of their higher level thinking skill and my higher level thinking skill, we had a job to do. And we did the job. And I'd like to tell you, but I can't, we weren't the best of friends afterwards. But we had a renewed respect for each other, that even though we didn't care for each other, we could at least do a job and get it done well. I had his back and he had my back to get the issue done. Afterwards, we went our separate ways. But when we were doing that issue, we did it because the interest was in the betterment of our people and not because I like you or you like me. Because that's not the point. And once we get to that point as an African, oh, he think he all that, or she coming in with all that. No, I don't care. I don't care you straighten your hair. I don't care you wear them green eyes. I don't care. Get the job done. Okay, you can wear African garb. I don't care. I just don't care about it. I want to know you're conscious. We get caught up in personality too much. I don't want that. I want to get the issue. We must emancipate and liberate our people by any means necessary. That's what I'm after. And if people want to do it legally, I'm with you. People want to do it economically, I'm with you. People want to go out and buy assault weapons, I'm with you.
All right, family.
By any means necessary.
All right, family. Thank you all for coming out once again. I know a lot of people still have questions. You guys paid to be here, so you are welcome to stay for the second session, which starts at 4 o'clock. We need to give Kaba a break. We are asking everyone that if they can possibly donate. These baskets will be passed around. The donations are going not only to Brother Kaba, but also so that we can continue to have events like this, you know, covering rooms and other things like that. All right, so these are going to be passed around.
May I say something to them real quick?
Yes, sir.
Please, I just need to say, because I realize that some of us may not be here for the second part. I have brought DVDs with me that cover many of the areas that I speak. So I have those for you there. I have them for $10, but if you buy, like I have 3 series and some of them are $25 for the 3. They're 10 each, but I reduce the price once they come in sets. The other thing is I like, and I have cards, and I'll share them with you. But also what I want to tell you is that if you email me, I'll attach back to you a study guide, a 70-page study guide that deals with the information that I've been, have you got it, brother? Yeah. Okay, yeah, you got it. Yeah, I will email it back to you. And on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, I go on Townzone TV, www.townzonetv.com, and I teach the study guide. This is like an online, this is the beginnings of what I'm calling an online university. It's www.townzonetv. This I just started. This is not on my card, but yeah, my email is on here, and please, can you take one and pass them? TOWNZONE. It starts from 9 until 10 Eastern Standard. It's 1 hour. Where we go over the study guide that I've sent. In other words, you're in a university where the textbook is of no charge. And I walk you through. Like this past weekend, we did the geology in the Shabaka Stone. And we're going to do part 2 of geology in the Shabaka Stone this coming Wednesday. Because I'm at the point now where I realize that we just have to move to the next level. I don't want to keep talking about what we have to start doing. For those of you who are interested, who are into education, who would like to understand how we can begin to put this information into the curriculum, this program, www.townzonetv, is the beginning. Please, brother, could you just share that with folks?